Well, I'll just tell you, this is not a product advertisement or nothing, but I always look for the best price to get parts for my cars, the cheapest. And I've been ordering from Rock Auto for a long time. As a matter of fact, I got these refrigerator magnets on both sides of my refrigerator. I don't know, dozens of them. I probably got 100 magnets on here by now with 100 different orders. I just picked up the camshaft for this El Camino, which is a 305, and I'm fine with that. I always thought it was a 350 when I sold it, but I think it's the original 305. Sealed power Johnson Tappets. Now, I've heard of Johnson Tappets, and they're probably okay. I mean, I know I've been hearing a lot of stuff now that the flat tappet cams are made overseas, and this says could be made with some internal parts that are foreign, but it's got on here that it's limited lifetime warranty when installed with LL5 Johnson Prelude, which is this stuff right here, and 100% Rockwell hardness guaranteed. That is my main concern, because I think they had some other brands out there. I figured I'd go with the Sealed Power because I heard of them guys. They've been around a long time. Probably made overseas, partly. I don't know, but this looked like an old package. I just sprayed some lube on here. I'm going to keep this inside. I'm not keeping this outside, just to make sure I don't get any rust on it. I just sprayed some lube on here to make sure nothing gets screwed up on it. And picked up my filter set for the transmission on this thing, the Sebring convertible. Actually, what I do with the Sebring convertible when I change the transmission fluid, I kind of do what you call like a hybrid transmission flush. I know, like, when they take them into trans shops, they forcibly push they flush out the trans fluid that's in, the radiator cooling system in a torque converter. What I do is I just drain the pan, then I put the filter in it in a gasket, and then I put the quartz in it to replace what's in the pan. Then I start the engine, put it through some gears to pump the oil through it again. And in other words, it does it naturally. It doesn't do it with any kind of forced pressure or anything to loosen up. It does it naturally. In other words, it's whatever pressure's in the transmission that's been there forever. It'll push the new fluid and mix it with the old and get it through the torque converter and the cooling, the trans cooler. And then I drop the pan and I put new, I seal it up, not with the gasket, but I use like RTV after I super chemically clean the surface. I like RTV better than these gaskets, and then fill the pan up. So it still has a little bit of the old fluid in it, but it still gets out probably about half the fluid that's in the torque converter and the cooling system, besides all the fluid that's in the pan. That's how I do it. It also picked up some of these Suzuki Samurai filters, which is for that thing. Well, it's a SJ413 Jimny 1300. And the same thing as a Samurai, just skinnier. These are $3 each. So I got a 12-pack of them. And Motorcraft makes good filters. They're not crappy. For $3 a pop, they're very cheap. So you got to pay a little bit for shipping. But when you buy a lot of stuff from these guys, they also have the 5% discount. And I got here on hand my intake gasket for the manifold when I got to pull out the cam. I think it has the distributor ring on there and stuff. And also, this is the starter motor. I hope this is the right one. It's for a manual transmission. It didn't say for a 305, it said for a 350, but it should be the same damn thing. We also have in here, this is the what do you call it? A new clutch inspection plate goes over the front of the transmission. I don't know why the hell I get these wing nuts on here. There should be some other nuts that go on here, bolts that go on there, but I'm not going to find those someplace. And we got the new water pump hoses and timing gear and timing chain set. So, you know, pretty much ready to rock and roll. But before I do that, I want to make sure the transmission fluid is changed in this, and then we'll move this car and point the nose this way. We'll probably have the ass end hanging out over there, so I got enough room to work. So I can do the cam on this. And once the cam's done on this, I got a transmission jack coming in, and I'm going to put in a Zoom clutch without the heavy spring, but you know, the Zoom clutch material that's got like Kevlar in it, with a new flywheel, new pressure plate, new throw-out bearing, possibly a new clutch fork, and a new pilot bearing on this Saginaw trans. And maybe I might change the springs in the back of this thing too. But then mechanically, I think this thing is ready. You know, we'll start putting the HHO in it and stuff after that. But it takes a while to do all this shit because I got 50 million projects going at once. Anyway, but I've been getting stuff from Rock Auto for a long time, man. You know, I never plugged them on YouTube ever. I told people about them online, sometimes in the comments. There's usually a 5% discount floating around, even if they didn't send you a 5% discount. I just can't beat the prices. And by the time I even bother going to the store, the stuff is here, you know. I mean, there's no free shipping on the junk, but it's so cheap that it's worth it. I mean, definitely worth it. I was kind of debating what kind of cam to get. This is a real mild cam, but to tell you the truth, I think the cam that's in my engine has got some seriously worn out lobes on it. And no matter how mild this cam is, it's going to seem like a performance cam compared to what's in there. Because I'm not even sure if that camshaft was even changed when they rebuilt the motor. I know the lower block was rebuilt and decked and all that crap. The guy could have thrown in the old camshaft again, for all I know. I know they put new pistons in it way back. But, you know, I guess the pistons, I don't think it has too many miles on this engine since it was rebuilt, because I did put a lot of miles on it the first few years. But then, since that time, I've been down here in Florida. I've just been making some short trips with this sucker. It's not really been... You know, I think it was rebuilt about 23 years ago. But there might only be about 60,000 miles on the rebuild, so, you know, the pistons and all that crap. So, you know, when I put this cam in there, it's probably going to run pretty damn good. So, and it's going to get the HHO treatment too. And I'm pretty glad I got this now that I see the gas prices going up. I'm pretty glad I got the 305 because, you know, hey, it's like, basically it's a stroke 265, the original first Chevy small block that came out, the 265. It's only 1,000th difference between the bore, between a 305 and a 265. Basically, if you bore it out at, you know, you could bore them out 10,000s easy, and they're identical bore size. And it's a stroke 265. The 305 is not really a bad motor. It's not a performance engine, but I don't really care about that. What I want in this thing, performance, if I ever go to doing this route, I don't think I'm going to for a while, is put the Muncie Z ratio M22 Rock Crusher transmission in it, and a Ford 9-inch with 325 gears in the back with 11-inch drum brakes. That I could do for about $4,000. I don't know if I want to do that though, because then I got to keep this transmission someplace and the rear end assembly someplace and store it. And that's, you know, but that's what I would beef up versus the engine. I would beef up the drivetrain, because, you know, that's the weak part on these cars, basically. I don't know. They went to Saginaws in 1978. They got the 7.5-inch ring gear in the back on the, but that does have a, you know, that's been rebuilt. The rear's been rebuilt. The transmission's been replaced. Really nothing wrong with this shit. They're in pretty good shape, so probably not going to screw with them. I don't know. Depends. I don't know. But for now, it needs this camshaft. It needs the timing gear set. I'm going to put the HHO in it, and I'm going to put the clutch and a pressure plate and a flywheel. And we got that transmission jack coming, but I always get parts from these guys, Rock Auto. I must have ordered from them like 150 times, easy. And each order was multiple things. It wasn't like one little thing. So I've been getting parts from Rock Auto pretty much exclusively. I'd say 98% of what I buy for my car comes from Rock Auto. I'd say for over the last, I'd say since about, yeah, so maybe about the last almost 10 years. About the last 10 years almost. And this is not a product endorsement or nothing, or I'm just telling you that's what I do. So I always look for the best deals, and yeah, let the flag of freedom fly. Yeah, there's the little bolts for this thing. I had them right there. It was laying right there, so I'm going to tape that on there so I don't lose them. I actually truck bed lined this thing because these inspection cover plates for the clutch bell housing, whatever the hell you call them, that paint chips right the hell off them because the rocks are always hit them. So I actually chemically cleaned it and truck bed lined it so that stuff won't fall off of there. Well, when I get going on it, the only thing I got to get now is what the hell you call that shit? Gibbs break-in oil, and also for the cam, and also a bunch of engine paint. I might paint that whole engine orange, chemically clean the shit out of it, and paint it orange, Chevy orange red like it should be instead of that blue crap. You know, including the sides, the bottom, the bell housing, you know, whatever, whole 9 yards.